All right, and we're back here on the third episode of Spider Byte. I know if you've been watching these last two episodes, the variation of the title of this has changed. I think for the first week we had it as Spider Bytes, Bites. Last week we had as Spider Bytes, like spiders, SPIDERS But the third week, we finally have came to an executive decision by the team here. Obviously, me, myself, and I being the team, the researcher, the executive producer, the researcher, this, that, and third. I have came up with the official name of this podcast, and it's going to be called Spider Byte. So it's SPIDERBYTE. And we'll give you bite-sized content regarding the University of Richmond football team. We got a lot to cover in this bite-sized edition of Spider Byte. Who will be the QB1 for the Spiders as they head to face Charleston Southern? We'll talk about that. Some guys to watch on the Spiders in this matchup against the Buccaneers of Charleston Southern. And who are the Buccaneers of Charleston Southern? We'll talk about that team. And we'll talk about some players to watch on there and keys to win for a Spiders victory. And also we'll also talk about some statistical nuggets and some stuff to get you primed and ready for Saturday's matchup at Robins Stadium, a 2:00 kickoff on Saturday. So what we're going to do, we're going to kick that intro, and we'll be back here on episode 3 of Spider Byte. And you like that, and we're back here at it. So let's talk about, before we move forward to Saturday's matchup, the University of Richmond Spiders comes into this matchup on Saturday with an 0-2 record. If you remember the 2023 Spider squad, they started the season 0-2, a loss to two consecutive losses to begin the season, similar to this year. And this is the first time since 1989 and the 1990 season where the Spiders in 2 consecutive years were 0-2. This matchup, we have Charleston Southern on the menu, and this is actually the first time that these two teams have met. So this is definitely going to be a very, very interesting game, and obviously with no historical significance, is a great way to kind of start somewhat of a historical as far as a historical storyline for years to come, and maybe a potential matchups down the line. So the biggest question mark, if you watched the game last week, the Spiders did lose 26-19 to Wofford. Cal Wickersham was the starter last week, threw three interceptions in the game. Camden Coleman came into the game about 6 minutes into the fourth quarter, had a rushing touchdown, but the comeback attempt wasn't successful, as it did fall to Wofford. And Cal Wickersham's essentially 3 interceptions essentially led Wofford 16 points off those 3 turnovers. So the biggest question about going into this game was who will be QB1 for the Spiders. And Coach Russ Huseman in his press conference yesterday stated that Cal Wickersham will be QB1 for the Spiders. And he said, and I quote, as far as Cal's 3 interception performance and just overall last Saturday's performance. And he said, and I quote, didn't get enough people playing good around him. And essentially, Cal will be, despite the 3 interceptions, Cal did lead the Spiders last week in rushing with 106 yards. So, take it as B. So he was, had the opportunity to run the football a lot. I think he had like 17 carries, if my memory serves correct, but something in that neighborhood. He was in the high teens as far as carries last Saturday. So On the Spider side, I think the players to watch obviously is going to be Kyle Wickersham, um, and even in the press conference, um, to kind of piggyback on what Coach Hughesman said, essentially of that quote that I mentioned earlier, that there were situations where some wide receivers missed their route or missed the, missed what have you, missed assignments on that one. So you're hoping that Cal and the receivers can kind of get on the right page so he can, do his thing. So hopefully you'll see more improved play on Kyle Wilkinson from a passing standpoint, and also he has that rushing threat. Then you look at Aziz Foster Powell. Springer alert if anyone in the 804 area, or it is what it is. But shout out to Aziz Foster Powell, former Highland Springs legend, no relation. But last week he had his first career touchdown as his first collegiate touchdown. He so far this season he has 26 carries. He's the second leading far as carries wise. And Cal actually has 27. So he's literally, those two really have been the run attack for the Spiders thus far this season. So I definitely think, Aziz Foster Powell will have probably a better game than he did on Saturday. I definitely think he'll be more involved in the run game this week as well. And then I look at, especially as we'll talk about Charleston Southern momentarily, and I think they're going to be like a really pass-heavy team or what have you. So I think a guy that you really want to watch from the Richmond secondary, it's probably going to be Jabril Hayes, the free safety. Last week he had 8 solo tackles. He was pretty much, it was doing his thing on his side of the ball. So I definitely think he will definitely have a similar performance, and hopefully in that he'll have some turnovers or some defensive efforts in that particular on his side of the ball, on the side of the field, pardon me. So let's talk about Charleston Southern. Charleston Southern on the season, they're 1-1. A heartbreaking loss 2 weeks ago to the Citadel, 21-20. But they had by far probably one of the biggest upsets so as far like an FCS, beating Furman 24-20. And what's the irony of their win last week? They forced 4 turnovers, and Richmond had 4 turnovers last week. So it's going to be definitely interesting, like how that plays out. We look at some players to not more so before we get the players to watch. They forced the four turnovers, and then also they're known for their triple option offense. They're really a multifaceted offense. They led by Rob McCoy. Last week he had 143 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. In those 2 touchdowns, he connected with wide receiver Noah Jenkins, who had 97 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns. They're pretty much spearheading that triple option offense. They're very multifaceted offense. Hence, when I mentioned a guy like a Jabril Hayes, I definitely see on the Spider side that could definitely going to impact as far as the success of Richmond defending the pass game for Charleston Southern. So I definitely kind of tie that in. I look at even on the defensive end, a guy on Charleston Southern's team, Tylen Hollis. He had an interception. He's a linebacker. He had a crucial interception in the second half against Furman last week, and then he had also 1 sack last week as well. So this Charleston team definitely has what it takes to yet again potentially have another good game like they did last week in beating Furman. And I think Furman was also ranked going into that game last week as well, and pulling that win off at Furman. So get that nice road win for them. So for me, I think the keys for a Richmond victory, limited turnovers. Like I mentioned earlier, if you have an opportunistic defense like Charleston Southern did last week where they forced 4 turnovers, this could be another situation where this could go really bad if you have a similar game against Wofford. So limited turnovers. Obviously, in the game last week against Wofford, 4 turnovers. Out of those 4 turnovers, 3 of those turnovers led to 16 points. And that literally was a difference. If you didn't have those 16 points, you think to yourself, you possibly could have came out with a 19-10 win over Wolford. And I think on the other end for Richmond, their defense, they definitely have to force some turnovers. Like we talked about, I want to say either the first week or the second week, how the Spiders was probably one of the best teams as far as getting turnovers. So can that kind of carry over into the season? We haven't seen it quite yet, but can this defense become opportunistic as they were like in 2023? So that's for we'll see how that plays out on Saturday. And then also another key for this Spiders team, they have to have more of a balanced offense. I talked about this a little bit last week against when they had against Wolford, where essentially you look at I think the unit as far as that really needs to step up, like I said last week against Wolford, it's probably could be the receiving game. You look at the unit altogether only had 129 yards receiving, so you definitely have to get more of a contribution. I know Nick DeGennaro only had 3 receptions last week, so I definitely think that he will definitely get more active in his offense this week. Coupled with that run attack with Cal Wickersham, I don't think he'll get another 100 yards this week. He possibly can, but I definitely think Aziz Foster Powell probably get more opportunities to tote the rock, get some more yards, and potentially score multiple touchdowns potentially in this game. But I just look at it; those like my 3 keys: limiting the turnovers, and then also forcing turnovers, and just having essentially a balanced offensive attack on from the run game, the pass game as well. Just keep it balanced, and those are my keys to a Spider victory. The final score of this game, I'm leaning towards the Spiders. I definitely think the Spiders will win this game. I think this could be another close bomb burner type of game for them. So I definitely think the Spiders will win by the final score of 37-34. And this has been episode 3 of Spider Bytes. I'm definitely looking forward to you guys checking this out. Drop some feedback, your thoughts on this. Looking forward to comments and likes and what have you. So definitely appreciate you guys for checking me out this week, and we give you some more content this week, and we're out.